We do live in a toxic world and we can live very healthy. It is toxic, but some of us are really strong immune, good detoxers. So I feel like you absolutely shouldn't be afraid of this toxic world at all.
Make it fun.
Totally.
Elissa Goodman is one of celebrities' favorite go-to integrative holistic nutritionist and cleansing expert. She's helped thousands manage their health issues from autoimmune, weight management, and healing from chronic diseases naturally. Her mission is to educate and encourage healthy, mindful living and help others embrace the concept that we are all products of what we eat and how we treat ourselves. On today's episode of Toxic-Free with KB, Alyssa and I talk about how she healed her cancer naturally, the gut and why over-the-counter meds are making it worse, the whole body connection, how you can easily be your own cleanse expert, and much more. I cannot wait to share our life-saving conversation with y'all. Welcome to Toxic-Free with KB, Elissa Goodman. Welcome to Toxic-Free with KB, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of what it means to live a toxic-free life. I'm your host, KB. I'm a toxic-free lifestyle advisor and a diehard advocate for clean living. Alyssa, here we are. Oh my gosh. I've been waiting for this day for a very long time because I see you all over the place. And on my way home back to Santa Barbara today, I'm stopping by Erewhon. I'm going to pick up some of your cleanse items. Can't wait to start using them. But we were just talking before the show started about how my everyday is about detoxing. And you had to go through a big life change. And I really want to start diving in deep about how that quote unquote, I feel like it's so I feel like people don't even understand it's like, oh, good word to know, that word health.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, health. It's healthy, right? But how changing your health actually saved your life. I want to talk about your after college downward spiral. You had long hours at a stressful job. You were fueling with caffeine and restaurant dinners. You were basically considering exercise as a luxury. Sleep, in your mind, was for those who didn't care about moving up the ladder. And then you felt a lump.
So, well, I grew up sort of labeled myself as a sick kid, and my family did too, because my immune system wasn't working so well. So I got sick all the time. And I feel like physically and emotionally that really took a toll on me throughout my grade school, high school years. Two parents that were movers and shakers and, ran circles around me. So I always feel like physically I was behind the eight ball and mentally I was behind the eight ball. So I would say that I would have caffeine and sugar even in the early days because I was always tired.
How old were you?
I was like, grade school, high school.
Caffeine?
Like Coke and Tab. Remember those? Yeah, those
bad caffeine.
Yeah,
sorry.
that bad caffeine.
Right.
And so Diet Coke, all that stuff. And the cookies and sugar. My mother loved sugar, so she always had sweets around the house. So moved to New York in my 20s, and yes, kind of followed that same lineage with, eating out and like just trying to climb the corporate ladder, and that's what it was all about. Like, eventually I felt like I was going to get healthy. So again, eating really crappy. And then finally just had a lot of years of not feeling good. I basically said to my husband, we were living in New York, and I said, I need to move west. And it was kind of funny because he was from Queens, and he goes, we're going to go to New Jersey? And I'm like, no, we're going to California.
A little further?
Yeah, a little further west. He had never been west, and I was just like, I need sunshine. I need better food. I just knew I needed more nourishment and nourishing, in some place that was just like easier to live, I thought at the time. So yeah, I got the job with Vogue magazine here.
Oh, nice.
And basically thought it was the end all, and it wasn't because it was massively stressful. And I ended up getting diagnosed with cancer at 32. So it was a very early stage of cancer, but the doctors the way they treat you is like, holy shit, you have cancer, like you could die kind of thing. Like it's crazy how they operate. We got to do chemo, radiation. Do you have a donor to do stem cells? I'm like,
and you're 32.
Yeah, the cancer isn't even staged yet. So there was this one guy I went to see at St. John's, and it was so beautiful because this changed my life. he sat me down. He was a radiologist, and he said, what's your life like? Are you stressed?
Oh, nice.
Are you happy? Do you love what you do for a living? Do you love your husband? Do you love your life? And we had just moved to LA. It was like maybe a year or so. And I didn't like LA at all. It was a hard place to, infiltrate. New York was our place.
Done it. Yeah.
And so I burst into tears. I was like, I don't know what happy is. And, he also said, do you have any sense of peace or calm in your life? And I'm like, I have never had peace or calm in my life. So that right there changed my life. He said, basically, cancer is very emotional. It has an emotional component. Yes, you could have a low immune system that doesn't keep you strong and healthy. You could eat bad food, but the mental part is really important. So that's when I went into therapy, started reading self-help books, went to yoga, meditation, breath work, dove into all of that beautiful stuff here in LA because it was available more so than New York. So I must have meant to move here and do that. And I started juicing. In those days, there was one juice place in LA. So I'd walk to the juice place and get juice every day. And I became a vegan, which not the healthiest one, but I just really tried to watch my sugar and even in those days, my gluten and my dairy and all of that, and eat more vegetables and just try to get healthier. And I ended up not doing everything they wanted me to. I just did a little radiation, and my oncologist actually fired me at the time. So it was really crazy. But I knew, talks about toxins.
Yeah.
Chemo is toxic, and I just with growing up with an immune system like that, I was really scared. And radiation scared me too. The amount of radiation they recommended for an early stage of cancer was, I think, crazy. So I probably, honestly, wouldn't have done radiation if it wasn't for my family and friends who were freaking out. I personally, in my gut, said I could get past this. But I did some radiation, and of course, the radiation was major toxic, and it stays in your system for a very long time. I don't even know if it ever gets out of your system fully, even if you are constantly detoxing. So it has done a number on me. I've had other health issues, I think, because of the radiation.
So let me ask you, you said so many things I want to touch on, and I became a little bit of emotional when you have that doctor say, are you stressed? Mm-hmm. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Those are two things that I think all of us collectively can say fudge. I'm trying not to cuss. But you know what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. Am I? Let's stop and think about that. In all facets of my life, am I moving too fast? Am I trying to climb up this ladder that maybe there's a broken spoke along the way?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this rat race? What is it for to get ahead? When you had the answer and you're like, I don't even know what happiness is. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I want to tap into, which is so beautiful, is that you had that innate knowing in your gut of healing, of what healing was, of what healing is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, 32, which is, speaking for women, I would say, is a pretty mature age. You're really coming about. But where did that come from?
I was really lucky because my mother had asthma growing up, and we lived in Arizona. So her asthma was really bad. And so she found this health ranch in Tecate, Mexico. Have you ever heard of Rancho La Puerta?
Yes. People keep telling me to go there, and I'm like, really?
So it was Golden Door and Rancho La Puerta in those days. One was a little bit nicer, upscale. One was in Escondido. One's in Tecate, Mexico. And she would go with these women for 7 days. They'd be off the grid. And when I was 15, 16, 18, I would go with her and go with these women. There was 20 women. And I watched how these women changed in the 7 days. No communication with the outside world, eating only plant forward. There was no animal protein from what the ranch grew, and exercising every day, massages, meditation. It was just these women were different people at the end of the 7 days. I mean, they had all kinds of the same issues we deal with today, but at the end of the 7 days, they were raring to go, felt good, energized, lost weight, they had brain fog too. They had depression. They had all kinds of menopause issues, but by the end, they were feeling great. And I was like, That's interesting. Like, I watched that, I went probably 3 or 4 times, and I kind of like tapped back into that knowing of, wow, food, just being less stressed, and the meditation and the exercise and sleeping really well, because there was no TVs, could really change your life. And so I was lucky. So I kind of tapped back into all of that and explored that option for myself.
Yeah, because you definitely had to be your own health advocate.
Totally.
And I was telling you, why I started Toxic-Free with KB and why I want to educate the community about how to reduce their toxic exposure in everyday life is because me too, I've gone through multiple rounds of mold illness now and constantly detoxing. So, it's from those innate knowings of supporting ourselves and listening to your gut. Like, holy smokes, people do not trust themselves enough.
I know. It's wild in terms of like your intuition. You're born with this crazy, beautiful intuition, and we don't use it.
Yeah.
Like, your intuition is 100% always right. And I always tell my clients, like, tune in, even if I recommend supplements or food or whatever I do for you, like, tune in and actually ask yourself if it's right. I mean, I muscle test all my supplements on myself. I love all of that. Since I do Zooms, I can't muscle test on my clients, but I would love to be able to do that.
Can you explain what muscle testing is?
Yeah, so it's basically an energy feeling of whether, a supplement or a food is right for you. And what I do, usually a lot of doctors, they, put your arm out and you hold the supplement and they push your arm down.
Yeah.
So, and if your arm goes down, that means it like is not good for you. And if it stays, it's good. So, and then you kind of ask all these questions. Should I take one supplement or two? I do it on my gut. I put it on my gut and I stand and like get balanced. And I'm like, is this B complex good for me? Or, is this glutathione good for me? And I'll move forward if it's a yes and back if it's a no. It's wild. And it always works for me. I mean, we also with food, like, we eat stuff, talk about toxins. Like, let's just say we're out of the country and we're like thinking, we're going to eat something and we're like, I'm not so sure about that. Or sushi, like a lot of times that comes up a lot, the raw fish. And you're like, this doesn't smell good. This doesn't feel right. Like, we really should, because a lot of times after you eat it, then a lot of people get sick.
Right.
And it wasn't good for you. Something was wrong with it. Your intuition was telling you this wasn't good for you. Or if it just doesn't agree with you, your intuition knows before you eat it.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Exactly, 100%. I mean, and moving forward with some more health issues that you've had to like battle through, you're in your 30s still, right? You're still battling through your cancer story. And how long did that take to kind of like
navigate?
Yeah, navigate.
It was a couple years, and then I ended up getting hypothyroidism because they radiated my thyroid. And then I got Hashimoto's after my first daughter, and I got celiac, and I got major anxiety and some insomnia issues, and hair loss and like all that stuff that goes with hypo, because like it took forever to get diagnosed with hypo and Hashimoto's, like years.
Why was that?
Just because they didn't know about it then. So in my 30s, 30 years ago, they really didn't know a lot about thyroid and autoimmune issues.
What I want to kind of bring that to everyone's like vision right now is that with the thyroid, people are like, oh, I have a slow thyroid, or I have a fast thyroid. What people don't realize, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the thyroid is like the master regulator of so many things, right?
Totally.
Detoxing. But what people think, oh, it's because of this, this, and this, but it's also environmental.
Yeah.
What's going on in your house? Is there a mold problem? Let's bring that up, right?
Right.
Or stress, or it's a
or you've
hormone.
been exposed to radiation, maybe not radiation for a cancer diagnosis, but other radiation.
Right. Yeah.
EMFs or, all of that. I mean, your thyroid is really important to, like, nowadays everybody checks the thyroid and all of that, but it also comes up, I think, with like emotional stuff. You feel like you can't use your voice. Oh. I think that's really a cool one.
I think many of us can relate on
Women,
that, right?
especially, right? We're we just don't want to be, we want to be seen and not heard, so we can't speak up and we can't use our full voice. And I think emotionally your thyroid gets a little like compressed and shrunken and all of that. So I
Closed
think
off.
emotionally and physically, it's a problem.
Vulvas are a vital part of women's health that have been ignored for far too long. Vulva Care creates the space and time for women of all ages to get in touch with every part of their bodies. It's time to care for our vulvas. Medicine Mama has done just that. They have created a line of vulva skincare products that are hormone-free, OBGYN approved, clinically tested, and have over 12,000 five-star reviews. I use my Vulva Balm every single day, and let me tell you, it's so nourishing and luscious and does not disrupt my vaginal pH. Try Medicine Mama for yourself and let me know what you think. Get my exclusive code of 15% off all menopause, pregnancy, postpartum, grooming, and even sexual wellness products today by using code Toxic-Free15. For 15% off all purchases, use code Toxic-Free15. Again, that code is Toxic-Free15. And if you want to learn more, tune into Toxic Free with KB, episode number 282 with the medicine mama herself, Dr. Claire Bartuccio.
Yeah, open up that throat
Yeah,
chakra, everyone. Come on,
exactly.
just rub it right now.
It's so crucial.
Yeah, but Hashimoto's especially, that can be, let's talk women, that can be kind of like, ugh. Image-wise, you're like, holy crap. A lot of people don't know or understand what Hashimoto's is. So can you kind of explain what that is?
It really is an immune response, and it's your body attacking your thyroid. So, I feel like personally, I worked with a medical medium for years as part of his practitioner group, and he always felt like a lot of these autoimmune issues were viral related issues. And going back to the days when you had chickenpox and strep and mono, and I had mono twice, I had chickenpox, I had strep, I had tonsillitis. I mean, multiple times. So I think, you have these viral issues laying dormant, and the viral issues kind of go into organs that are not really healthy. They're like a little bit, and I didn't know how to use my voice in those days. So I feel like that's tied to me. It was like what I just said. But so like it can be all kinds of, like organs that the viral issue kind of like lays dormant in. And plus I had the radiation, so my thyroid wasn't healthy and it shrunk. So that was an organ that wasn't really working. So that's what it is. It was an immune response. My immune system wasn't strong. I wasn't fighting it off. My gut wasn't strong. It's very much gut related. Okay. And like we know the gut is so crucial, very much so for health and wellness. And so my gut wasn't healthy because of all the sugar, all the antibiotics I was taking over the years. I was just loading myself up with all that stuff because I didn't know any better in those early days because I was always sick. So no one said probiotics or, no one knew how to repair your intestinal lining or, actually rebuild and reset your gut.
Yeah.
There was none of that. So now, thank God we do.
It's abundant, right?
Yeah.
Well, by you starting off, trusting your body, listening to your innate self, right? Listening to your gut. That's a beautiful segue into the gut, right?
Yeah.
The gut microbiome. You realize that from what the doctor said to you originally, are you stressed? Are you happy? Are you mentally relaxed? Whatever you guys you're further discussing upon,
Right.
You realize, oh my gosh, like there is a whole body connection here, folks.
Right.
I have to get
Right.
my mind and my body talking and, in relationship here.
Definitely wasn't listening to my gut instincts all those years, and making decisions that weren't right for me and then being like so stressed out and trying to make it right, or making decisions with food or all of it, just not thinking about, like, I know we come into the world toxic. Our mother's womb is toxic, right? The umbilical cord has toxins. So I think that, I didn't know any of that until later in my life. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the umbilical cord has a certain number of toxins. The womb has toxins. So we do come in, some more so, some less so, toxic. So that's what's fascinating. We do have toxins.
Well, because we absorb what our mother
So, yeah.
has within her.
Yeah.
That is very interesting, but
I
I never
know.
thought of it on that kind of aspect. So now it's like our duty to be like, well, got to clean up the
mess.
shit, here we go.
Mom's mess.
Yeah, thanks. But by, trusting yourself and connecting that relationship again to the body and the mind, like I would love for you to share some things that you started to do so people can kind of pick up on that and be like, oh, well, it's not too late, healing Hashimoto's, or maybe it's thyroid conditions. And then we can jump into the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
But first, what are some things that you started doing?
Well, what I first started doing was lowering my viral loads and my bacterial, my fungal loads. I had gotten a GI map test done, and I had candida and fungus and bacteria, and I tested my viral loads, and all of them were high in my body. So,
where does that come from?
That comes from just the air we breathe, the water we drink, so the clothes we wear, the products we use on our body. Yeah. It's like, you probably know this better than me, and probably coming from, growing up and all those like antibiotics I took, and just the over-the-counter meds are toxic. There's synthetic medications that destroy our microbiome. Tylenol, Advil, destroy our intestinal lining. So we don't realize, we just pop these pills like crazy. So we become toxic. Just our organs do fill up with toxins. And then we get sick and we get viral issues. We get COVID. That's, it's a viral issue. So a lot of my COVID clients are struggling with their health now. It was good before, and now things are coming back, with their autoimmune issues or just their brain fog, as you know. So we are just exposed to toxins consistently. We have EMFs going on these days that are pretty toxic. We have cookware.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's an overload. So what I relate to you as well is that I just try to do the best I can to detox. Yeah. I try to watch the products I use, on my skin. I filter my water, I make sure my sheets are, really healthy and clean and toxic free, and also my food, of course, because I'm into food. So organic, and just trying the best I can. And some of the things that I did that were totally amazing for a couple of years, which really did put my Hashimoto's into remission, was I went on bacterial, viral, and fungal, I lowered my pathogen loads with that. So I took herbs. I took a bunch of herbs like bioactive silver and activated charcoal on and off, and grapefruit seed extract and oregano oil, and licorice root extract. There's all these beautiful herbs out there that can lower your viral loads, and so I did that for a year, and my Hashimoto's went into remission. So it was, and then I reset my gut. Probiotics, I lowered my viral loads in my gut and loaded up with probiotics and loaded myself up with nutrients. So the body started working better and detoxing.
So you cleaned the house and then you filled it back up with the good furniture. Got it. But okay, I'm going to pretend I'm a person that does not know any of this stuff. And I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm saying, Alyssa, I'm about to turn this off because I am scared out of my mind. Everything's toxic. I don't want to leave my house. All those things. Cookware. What do I cook on? What do I eat? Do I not eat anything? Even not eating is toxic. Everything around us is toxic. We totally get that. It's hard. What is the first step to take? What is the first item that you would implement to reconnect that body and mind connection? What would be the first thing that you would suggest?
That's a really good question. Well, first of all, I want to clarify that we do live in a toxic world and we can live very healthy.
Yes.
Okay, so it is, it is toxic, but we can, some of us are really strong immune, good detoxers, so I feel like you absolutely shouldn't be afraid of this toxic world at all.
Make it fun. Make it fun.
Totally. But, there's simple things like sleeping.
Yes.
That's when you detox and reset, so people aren't sleeping enough. So I'm very much a proponent for women to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Men can get away with 7. Sleep is crucial.
Why is sleep so crucial?
Because your body is detoxing through the night. All your organs are detoxing, and your liver is processing a lot of the toxins and puts them into the large colon. So when you get up in the morning and you go to the bathroom, you can detox some of these toxins out of your system. So that's really important. I would say, like, there's so many things. Hydration, like, we're so dehydrated. So I feel like we drink all this water and we don't drink enough, because women need 96 and men kind of need almost 120. And that doesn't mean you have to have straight water, but if you have a green juice or a smoothie or fruit or things that are hydrating, that counts towards your hydration. But hydration helps in terms of moving toxins in and out of the body. So that's just simple. And I personally have to say, I use this hydrating powder that I swear by. It's called Ultima Replenisher.
Ooh.
And it's
I must
beautiful.
know.
It has minerals. It has magnesium, manganese, potassium, zinc, C, and it has some sodium. And the minerals are what help the water go into your cells. So you really hydrate, because you don't want to just drink water and pee it out. You really want your cells and your organs to get, filled up. And that is, like, drinking and being hydrated is crucial. And that doesn't cost a lot. Sleeping is cheap. Drinking water and being fully hydrated is really good. As well as, I would say, moving your body. That's detoxifying. Just exercising, walking. You don't have to, like, do hardcore, exercise, but walking is huge. So that's all great for detoxing. And then there's, like, trying to pick food that is clean, trying to go organic with your vegetables. Maybe not all of them even that say they're organic are organic, but trying to go that way as much as possible if you can. And also your animal protein being hormone-free and pesticide-free and, like, antibiotic-free, just trying to go as clean as you can. You don't have to be perfect. So I think that, I also am a huge, like we were talking earlier, juicer. I've been juicing for 32 years. And I feel like that's one of my, like, beautiful detox, things that I do every day. I used to juice it in a juicer, but now I throw it in a blender, and I just throw celery, cucumber, lemon, ginger, parsley, spinach. It's so easy. It's really hydrating, and I actually keep all the fiber intact. I add water to the blender. It's massively easy. And I drink that. And that is, like, crazy full of fiber, because that's the next thing is fiber helps, push everything out of the body. So I feel like those things are easy to do.
So let me ask you quickly about the juicing thing, because I feel like over the year and with every food and lifestyle trend, there's, like, it's in, it's out, it's in, it's out, it's good, it's bad. And we were like, well, what do I do? So I do love juicing too, but, people say, like, oh, it's like sugar into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And certainly a lot of people might not tolerate for their glucose levels, like certain things. But I think if you're smart and you, like, just add the greens, I really think that's the trick. I think when people start adding things like juicing apples and stuff, that's where you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But I do like what you said about adding the fiber in there.
Yeah.
Because I think that is essential. And you said you worked with the medical medium.
Yeah. Like, that was years ago when his first book came out, and I was dealing with the Hashimoto's. I think I was 58, around there. But, and I became part of his practitioner group, and I just learned so much that wasn't out there. And that's when I learned how to, like, lower my, pathogen loads. And that was so beautiful. And that's when I really started on an ongoing detoxing phase for me when I didn't feel good. I would just go back to lowering my pathogen loads. But the juicing, like, and adding and having the fiber, I think, is just ideal. But I don't put any fruit in those juices at all. And I feel like that with smoothies too. I'm very low glycemic, little bit of fruit as possible, because it is too much sugar going into your bloodstream. But I think, I don't know if you know, but cilantro and parsley are, like, two
Heavy metals.
Yes, best herbs.
Yep.
And they're so cheap and easy, and
parsley, like, cleans your breath.
Yes. All my clients are testing super high for arsenic and mercury and lead and cadmium and all this stuff. And like, those are beautiful things to like do a juice, throw in the parsley and the cilantro and help you detox.
Put in your tacos, guys.
Yeah.
Put in your tacos. Easy
Right,
peasy.
it is.
Branch Basics never set out to sell soap. They truly are on a mission to help people create healthy homes and experience the power of pure. The three founders, Marilee, Allison, and Kelly, started Branch Basics to help people toss the toxins and live healthy lives. They educate to the market to start with the removal of cleaning products that contain some of the most toxic chemicals found in our homes, and then add in the basics in cleaning with all of their all-in-one concentrate formula. Guys, I am telling you, this liquid gold goes a long way. You only need one concentrate. You dilute it to whatever you want to clean, bathroom, kitchen, I don't know, maybe your dog. It would be safe enough to use it on your dog, I'm sure. Just ask Poppy Girl. So if you don't believe me, just ask everyone that has ever tried it. So join in as we get back to the basics and discover the power of pure. I'd like to help you get started on your cleaning by giving you 15% off all starter kits over at Branch Basics using code ToxicFreeKB. For 15% off starter kits, use code ToxicFreeKB. Again, that code is ToxicFreeKB.
But with the mind-body connection, right? You're talking a lot about the body right now, but the mind, you grew up labeling yourself as the sick kid. And I think living in that victim mentality will only set you back. So, you know, when the community like comes at me and people message me and they ask me questions about things, I'm like, well, okay, are you going to like live down this road, or like, can we take the first step towards change? So by rewiring your brain, rewriting your story, how did you start to do that?
I mean, I've been doing it for years, and first was through therapy and journaling and, you know, reading like every self-help book I could get my hands on. Also yoga, and just really trying to like tune in and get back in my body because I was so disconnected. So all of those things did help. What changed my life, if you really want to know, is plant medicine.
No kidding. Okay, tell me more.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to go there.
Yes, I want to go. Let's go.
Oh my God. So I had some insomnia like 5 years ago, and I did everything I knew how to do with my, you know, diet and my exercise and my stress, and also, you know, just like my herbs and all that stuff, and it wasn't working. Nothing was working. I was even taking meds and it wasn't working. And I was like, oh my God, this is emotional.
You hit the peak, you hit the roadblock,
Totally.
Right?
I hit the wall again. And so I ended up doing my first mushroom journey like 5 years ago. And on the journey, this is what was so beautiful, because it has to do with the cancer and, you know, just myself and growing up. I saw myself on like saying to myself, oh my God, what if I get cancer again? Because my husband died from cancer at 45. So
after you had cancer?
Yes. So what if I leave the girls with no mom or dad?
Oh my gosh.
I was terrified, and I saw that, and I was like, holy crap, I'm living in fear of another illness. So I'm doing the same thing I was doing growing up before I got the cancer. And so I also saw that I'm a perfectionist and that I pushed myself to the limit. And I was like, oh my God, I was so fearful of the girls, and I had so many fears. And I grew up with a bunch of trauma around my parents, and just, you know, like living a life of, you know, being perfect and the good girl and all that stuff. There's a lot more to it than that, but it was just like a lot on the system. Yeah. And I saw all of that in the mushroom journey, and I was like, that is how I'm living? Like, that is crazy. Like, that's not healthy. I viscerally was able to like release it and then experience what it was like to really feel love for myself and calmness, and like really embrace me, because I didn't even know what that felt like. And that was probably my first time to really feel it viscerally. I felt it mentally, you know, as all the work I had done, but in the body, I don't think I thought I did, but clearly the journey showed me that I hadn't, and then everything changed for me. My story just unfolded in such a beautiful way. My health got better. my emotional well-being got better, my relationships got better, like everything, my work got better. I just felt so clear. Yeah.
Clean.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's beautiful for one thing. I've always been curious. I actually want to interview someone that is a professional on that aspect. But did you see your inner child, your little you?
Yeah, I saw all of me. My subconscious, where we operate 95% out of our subconscious, your subconscious just comes up and it's right in front of you. And it's so easy. You ask yourself the question, am I doing this right? Should I be doing this? Whatever you want to ask. And your subconscious goes, yes, no. Like the answers come instantly. Right. That is what is so beautiful I'm sad that they're not legal. And I'm sad it's hard to, sometimes be able to find someone who's really good at helping you do it. I do it therapeutically, only one-on-one with a doctor. Mm-hmm. So, but it's so crazy amazing for people. Health, emotions, relationships, just everything. Talk about detox. Yeah. You come out of there and you're like fully detoxed, emotionally, physically, mentally. It's really wild. It's such a beautiful, I'm so grateful that I was brave enough to do it. And I also was lucky enough to find the right people to do it with.
Oh my gosh, that is really beautiful. And I think that's like something that everyone should hear is people can get stuff on the streets and do mushrooms or whatever. Yeah. But I think trusting your guide and trusting that the source is clean, just with food, right? If you're going to nourish yourself, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, you have to know that the source is clean. Yeah. On all aspects.
Absolutely. And trust your instincts on who you're with, and who you're doing it with. Because there's a lot of not great people out there that are doing it, because it's super popular these days.
Yeah. Everything's a trend.
Yeah, I know.
But you were talking during your healing journey and tapped into also over-the-counter medicine. Yeah. And the gut microbiome. Mm-hmm. And how we're just throwing sweet tarts at children. Here, take an Advil. Mm-hmm. Here, take a Tylenol. Certainly, my husband got ankle surgery and he has to take, this and that for a while. But, after a while, you don't realize what that's doing to your gut. So what is the gut microbiome? If we can make it so beautiful and fun to learn about, what is it?
Right. So you get your lifetime gut microbiome from your mother. When you come down the birth canal, you get your gut microbiome. I don't know if you know this, but when you have a C-section, you don't get your gut microbiome.
That's true.
So nowadays, though, they know that, and so they actually swab, the babies and all of that. So it's beautiful. But I deal with a lot of people who have digestive issues and health issues who were C-section, because people didn't know that then as well. So your gut microbiome is so crucial for everything. Your gut is, where your immune system is, where your mood is. It produces serotonin. It's where you digest your food. It's where you digest your intuition. So, the beneficial bacteria is so important to stay intact, but none of us have enough beneficial bacteria in our guts. There's just not possible over the years if we've had all these over-the-counter meds. And it's not just antibiotics. Our stress actually depletes the microbiome. Bad food, we get sick, we get, bacteria infection, that depletes the microbiome. So I am a huge believer in probiotics. I always want people to load up on probiotic foods, doing high quality, 100 billion, 200 billion probiotics. A lot of times doctors give 20, 30, 40. I don't think that's enough. When my clients take 100 billion or more, it seems to make a difference. So it's very important to keep, feeding your microbiome, because it also, I think, acts as a protective mechanism for anything getting into your intestines. It does protect your viral, bacterial issues and fungal issues getting into your intestines. You don't want anything getting into the small intestine. That's where
not?
things get dangerous because yes, that's when you have all kinds of issues. You get ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis, SIBO, SIFO, so it becomes really tricky to be able to like get into your small intestine and take care of those things. So it's one thing to get that stuff in your gut, but the beneficial bacteria, your enzymes, and your hydrochloric acid are really important to stay intact so they protect you from like getting into the small. You don't want any of that stuff in your small intestine.
Would that be like the cause from leaky gut?
No, leaky gut is more with your intestinal like lining getting destroyed.
Oh, got it.
So
So when it goes into, you said SIBO, ulcerative colitis,
diverticulitis.
What was the last thing you said?
Like SIBO and SIFO.
SIBO,
Yeah.
SIFO,
Yeah.
which people don't understand what it is, but it's
It really is like,
bacteria overgrowth.
yeah, in your small intestine.
Yeah. And the small intestine is used for what?
Yeah, your small intestine should be protected. I mean, it's used to digest food. You digest your food and you absorb the nutrients in your small intestine. Okay, so you don't want any like disruption in there. Like you're kind of like causing a little bit of a fire in your intestines.
So basically, your small intestine is your home. It's your like sacred little vessel, your sacred space. And when you start to get mold in the home, right? You got to move out. Something's going to happen.
Right.
But you also said something interesting about hydrochloric acid, which I think is very interesting because I've heard about that a lot. And does that have to go more with digestion?
Yeah.
Digesting your food too?
Yes.
So how can people get the adequate amount of hydrochloric acid in there?
Yeah, that's a good question because as we get older, our hydrochloric acid depletes and our enzymes deplete by 50% when you're 30.
Oh, great.
Hydrochloric acid, I know, and hydrochloric acid over the years with stress, and again going back to all the over-the-counter meds and antibiotics and just everything in our life. So, basically, you could take a HCl pill that's out there with good brands to get the hydrochloric acid, or you could do a little bit of apple cider vinegar in water, diluted before you eat a meal. So there is that. What's happening now, also like the acid reflux GERD, is really your hydrochloric acid being depleted. Not too much. Doctors think it's too much, so they even deplete it more with PPIs. It's so crazy. And so what you need to do is put more hydrochloric acid in there. It's such the opposite of what's going on out there in the world. So that because your gut needs to be like acidic to break down your food.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is burping and belching normal?
No, it is not. No, it's not normal. So that could be a sign of, low hydrochloric acid or low enzymes and all of that. And you're just not digesting your food well enough.
I hear you.
That is big. And also we go to the digesting the food part, which is beautiful because we're so stressed when we're eating. So when we're stressed, our digestive system completely shuts down. So if you're stressed and you're watching TV and you're working and you're eating, you're not going to digest your food.
So mindful practices, I think it's so hard for people these days to eat their food, or at least take 3 breaths before they eat their food without being on their phone or having a book next to them or watching the TV.
Yeah.
What about just a conversation and mindfully eating your food? Or I've started doing like, maybe there's like a fire pit in front of me or a candle, or I've actually started implementing chopsticks.
Oh, I love it.
So I have to be mindful and slow.
Yeah.
You should see our table that family dinners, the kids, it's like in and out. I'm like coming to the table. I'm like, you're done? What the heck? Slow down.
I know, yeah.
Slow down. But what is your favorite probiotic that you would recommend to people?
So I have a few. I mean, I love this brand from Canada. It's called Genuine Health. I love it because on the side of the box, it tells you all the different strains and how much are in it. And it's no proprietary blend, so you don't know what is what. So it's 100 billion, 50 billion. And so usually I have my clients on that. There's also some like food-based ones that are beautiful. Kefir Labs makes a drink that is like, I think 12 ounces, and it's 100 trillion probiotics in that 12 ounces. So taking 2 ounces of that every day is beautiful. Sauerkraut, kimchi, some tempeh, fermented foods I love. I'm trying to think of there's another probiotic that's so expensive, but quite exceptional called ProGert. But it's like a powder and it's like $100 for 5 powders, but it has 1 trillion probiotics. So it can really help reset your gut.
So
50 billion is really where I go to the minimum.
50 billion is the minimum.
For me.
50 billion.
50 billion.
And I know there's different strains.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just like multiple strains.
Okay.
And I do want people, not all probiotics work for everybody. And there are, Garden of Life has good probiotics. I mean, there are a lot of good brands out there, but you want to pay attention when you take that probiotic, do you feel good?
Yeah.
So if you don't feel good, then that could mean it's not right for you. As well, it could mean that you have some disruption going on in your gut that you need to take care of before you load yourself up with probiotics. The toxins.
And just don't always trust, guys, the trendy stuff that's out there and being advertised in the market. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to drop any brands or any names.
Right.
But heavy metals, we were talking about cilantro and parsley. Why? I feel like everyone's like, I think I have a heavy metal, overload. Like, what's going on here? What are heavy metals? Where are they found? And what can we do about them?
So they are metals, and their mercury is found a lot in the tuna and fish out there. Also in your mercury fillings. I had a client just recently who was, I think, in her late 50s, and she had her mercury fillings put in her 20s. So they were starting to leak. Her mercury was high. Another one just the other day just loves tuna. I'm like, don't you know that tuna is high in mercury? She was like, I just love it. I can't, so that's where a lot of mercury is coming from. Arsenic is in LA water. It's crazy high. It's also coming from rice and chicken.
Wait, rice and
rice
chicken?
and chicken, yes, because it's arsenic is fed to chickens. It's
My husband eats so much rice.
So you want to just use Lundberg. Lundberg
yes.
tests their rice for, there's definitely good, and you want to use Mary's, chicken, or just make sure it's clean. And then lead comes from paint, as and walls and stuff. So we are, and also it goes back to, are we really properly detoxing? Phase 1 and phase 2 of detoxification happens, in the liver. So our gut and liver are very important for detoxing. Liver is really crucial. So you just want to make sure that, if you do have heavy metals, maybe we should check the liver as well and see if that's working properly.
Is it stopped up?
Yeah,
Right?
it could be
overburdened?
because it has to turn everything we eat and absorb into a safe form to excrete it out of the body. The liver takes a beating, and that's where MTHFR gene mutation comes into place, where if you have the methylated gene, which I test a lot of my clients for, then you're not doing phase 2 of detoxification. So a lot of them that are not feeling well and have autoimmune issues and health issues, they do test for the gene defect of MTHFR.
So MTHFR, the mother.
Yeah.
That is phase 2?
That's phase 2.
Okay. Because phase 1 is basically going through the liver.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is if it's already overburdened.
Yeah.
How can they really kind of stay on that liver game? Make it your buddy. I detox every day. My green powders that I drink first thing in the morning have all the things. So what is your recommendation to do?
So I think, we can always kind of tell a little bit when our liver isn't working because we don't feel so well. Too, and also doing blood work. I do blood work on all my clients, so I test all their liver markers, which has been really fun to see what's happening there. If you're drinking a lot of alcohol, your liver is probably not doing well. If you take medications for years, you should be taking care of your liver. And I would say milk thistle, burdock, dandelion. There's some beautiful liver supplements out there too, along with a methylated folate, which helps the phase 2 of the detoxification. But, if you're doing those things with alcohol and a lot of over-the-counter meds, I would probably take a liver cleanse supplement or liver support supplement. Even just taking milk thistle is beautiful. That's a good one. But there's a lot of beautiful, liver supports out there. So,
definitely, I think as much as we were talking about the thyroid, the liver, also the master detoxifier, it's just like that is something I could not stress enough. And I think, for people that are like, because I know them, they exist, that say like, yeah, but I can't stay disciplined on the detox process. You will become disciplined if you have to. You will become disciplined if you have to go to the hospital because of a certain situation, or you have to get emergency surgery on something, or you have to get a replacement, or you get an awakening of some sort. But, we're about the preventative process, and that's what you're all about.
Yeah.
That's what you're all about.
Yeah, you want to like thrive as you age. That is really a goal of mine, being in my 60s. And
You're in
I
your
feel
60s?
I'm 64.
You're 64?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
And
dreams.
I feel the best I've ever felt in my entire life. Like no brain fog, sleeping well, like, I just feel energized and good. And I want to be a spokesperson for people as they age, because so many clients are in their 50s and 40s. Oh, I've gained that weight because of my age in my 40s. I'm like, oh my God. You do not have to live like that. Or I'm having, menopause symptoms.
But
you don't have to live
to occur that way.
Nope.
Just like my teenage stepdaughter, like, oh, my PMS or she's not going through menopause, but PMS is so bad, or my cramps. I'm like, that's not supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to happen.
You can balance your hormones. Totally. I do blood work on young girls too. Yeah, because you see what's out of balance.
The whole Middleton family's coming down. Let's go. Field trip. They'll be like, where are you taking us?
I know, the girls will not
Yes.
like that. But yeah, no, it's also like the diet too, the stress.
Yeah,
all
let's
of that
talk
for
about
her.
that really quickly. Teenagers, how do we get them on the train just like you did? You were 15, 16
Yep.
when you went to the ranch.
Yeah.
And you saw and you learned and you basically saw transformations. How do we get kids
I know, to
believe?
wake up.
to wake up, to see and to feel and to experience?
Yeah.
Experience being the word, right?
I would say that is a really hard thing to do and navigate, because I had two girls. I have, they're 29 and 26. And there were years in there where I was doing all the healthy stuff and they were so anti me. So I feel like I had to loosen the reins and be like, because I was always making sure the food was healthy and no sugar in the house. They just went crazy at friends' houses with sugar. And
I was one of those kids, Alyssa.
And I still have my older daughter popping a diet soda in front of me. So I'm like, you know what, they're going to learn eventually. But I think what's really phenomenal is they see me and they see how I'm aging and they see like how great I feel. And they also see what I do for a living. But I just, they're like, I don't want to be tired. I don't want to have brain fog. I don't want to have all these things. So I think they do dabble in it and they do like visit there. They don't live there. So eventually, hopefully they will live there. I just got to hope. But I think, being like a spokesperson for them and a role model for them and not really forcing them down that road is the ticket. I mean, like you mentioned, family dinners, we used to sit down for dinner, all of us, and eat, and no phones were at the table, and try to eat slowly. That was a challenge as well. But to serve them good food and just at least have this connection with each other at the table was beautiful. And then they just look forward to that.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful thing. And even though sometimes the food wasn't exactly what they wanted, but I at least could get one meal in them that was healthy.
Right, exactly. And, getting them involved. Hey, you want to go to the farmer's market? I mean, we're so lucky to live in California where we get awesome produce.
Totally.
Whenever we want, But I know that's not available for everyone. I know me growing up in the Midwest, like I went to visit my sister a couple years ago. It's fun. Sorry, sis, I need to come visit again. But I went to Whole Foods there.
Yeah.
Sorry to name names, but I went there because I always think, if I know that store, I know I can get pretty much the same thing wherever I go.
Right.
I got a radish. I bit into the radish. It tasted like styrofoam. It's not the same.
I know.
So for places or maybe lifestyles right now where people are like, yeah, this is great. You provide food at Erewhon. Like, that's awesome. But I can't afford that. Or it's just not my vision right now. How do I get started? How do we make these changes
Yeah.
accessible and applicable to everyone?
That's such a great question because you're right. I have a cleanse that I cook and deliver here in LA, and I've been doing it for 10 years. I have 4 different cleanses now, and it's all really fresh food, organic, no inflammatory foods in the cleanse at all.
Nice.
And it's 5 days or 3 days, and it's just been so much fun, like feeding people. And it's not offered across the country. So it's just LA, which is sad because it's in glass and organic. But that being said, there are ways, to get fresh vegetables and like good fruits, and it's frozen because they pick them and they freeze them right away. So I feel like that, it's if you can buy organic frozen stuff at Costco, you're ahead of the game.
Really?
I believe. Yes,
Nice.
Absolutely. Unless, like a lot of places across the country do have farmers markets. So I hope, but maybe some places where they aren't. But the frozen stuff is better than having broccoli shipped from New York to LA or
Yes.
San Francisco, whatever. So
That's
on a
good
truck, right?
Great
So-
tip. Buy frozen. Buy
Yeah.
frozen. Even
Yeah.
if it's not organic
Yeah.
yet, like at least
True.
buy the frozen.
Yeah. It's going to be the freshest. Once you unfreeze it, there's so many things you can do with it.
Nice.
So
Your mission is to educate people, to encourage, healthy, mindful living, helping others embrace the concept that we are a product of what we eat, and how we treat ourselves. So in a world where we don't treat ourselves very nicely, and many of us don't eat very nicely because we don't treat ourselves very nicely.
Yeah.
It's a perpetual role. Our body will give us symptoms like chronic pain. Since we're talking about food, what are 10 foods that cause or reduce pain?
Okay. What cause pain is inflammatory foods. So we're talking about too much sugar. That we're supposed to get 25 grams of added sugar. People get way more than that each day. Gluten can be inflammatory, not for everybody, but for some people. Cow dairy is inflammatory. Sheep and goat are so much better because it's a different casein molecule. Bad seed oils are inflammatory, like they're everywhere in the restaurants. So that has become rampant. Inflammation is like, getting bad like animal protein that has antibiotics and hormones in it. So there's just it's rampant in terms of that stuff food wise. I would say the ones that are like really good at lowering inflammation are omega-3s, which is in fish and in salmon. That is incredible for lowering inflammation. Also curcumin and turmeric, the spice is another really great anti-inflammatory. I love the cruciferous vegetables. So
Me too.
That all the broccoli and cabbage and kale and all of that. I'm sick of kale, but I love all of the other things. But they're really detoxifying for your body. And I also love onions and garlic and leeks and things like that. So those kind of foods are really great for lowering inflammation and just again trying to hydrate as much as possible with clean water, filtered water. Just buy a really great filtered pitcher and filter your water.
Do you have a favorite
I
brand?
do recently because I tested high for arsenic, and which was weird because I have a filter system on my house. So we use Pure, P-U-R, and you just go to Amazon. It detoxes heavy metals.
That's
So
good to
it's
know.
easy.
It's really good to know. So we were talking earlier about trends. I'm all about,
Oh, God.
you'll see at the end of my series, I have this whole segment called Trendy Trends, but trends are always on the rise. What are some trends that people are actually wasting their money on?
Oh, such a good question. Well, I would say that the supplement market out there is $1 trillion business, and people are promoting supplements like crazy.
Yep.
And what I feel people are wasting money on is they're buying a supplement with a few little enzymes in it, or just a little bit of milk thistle in it, or there's all kinds of omega-3s, has 400 milligrams. There's a certain amount of that we should be taking for us to be able to make a difference. Omegas are 1,200 plus. curcumin turmeric is like 1,000 plus, and it should be a certain curcumin, like there are like the supplement trends are a little bit out of control, I think, because you don't, and proprietary blends, you don't know what you're getting in there. Are you really getting enough to make a difference? So you're spending all this money on the supplements and you're overloading on all these supplements, but it's not making you feel better.
So how do they know that they're getting the best source?
That is what's tricky. So, I mean, I definitely am I'm a supplement like junkie.
Me too.
So, since the 30 years I had cancer, I started doing the supplement regime because I wanted to feel better. So I have investigated supplements like crazy. So they, always could come to me and ask questions on Instagram or email and ask me which supplements are great and how much of the quantity they should be taking to make a difference. Perfect. It's so easy for me. It's like a no-brainer. I think that is an issue. I think that bottled water, I think the bottled water is like not so healthy these days. I don't think it has plastic, and also it doesn't have like minerals that they say it does, or oxygen, or I just feel like it's really overpriced and they're wasting their money on that. And I think that, I'm trying to think of what else is, sometimes I think like there's so many trends, like cryo can be, cryo is like, can be a little overrated, I think, unless you're like doing it consistently. And like jumping into a cold plunge is, I think, better than a cryo.
Or the ocean.
So the ocean, okay, a cold ocean, right.
That'll get you.
Right. And also like some of the beauty products, of course, right? They're just overstated in terms of what they say they do.
What do you mean, like red light therapy?
I love red light therapy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, you have to tell me
what to
do, what to get, all the things.
I love Omnilux.
Okay.
So I think they're very high quality.
Okay.
But a lot of them don't have enough strength to do, to really give you what you need. And I think the red light in the saunas, that come with like sunlight and saunas and stuff, that is really where it's at.
Do you have so saunas are like really good for detoxing. Yeah. We all know that. Well, we all know that.
Yes, we do.
What's your favorite sauna to use? Because I'm looking for one that's like low EMF.
Yeah.
What is one that you like to recommend?
I think I would say Sunlighten. I always had a higher dose, mat that I used for years too, and I think that's good. So, fantastic. But I think, I love saunas. I think.
So, would you say that's like the trend to get on?
Yes, I think that detoxing and sweating in a sauna is beautiful, like detoxing lymphatic system, and yes, it is definitely.
So, I'm very interested. What is your morning routine?
Oh God, that is trouble.
No, it's not.
I do so much. Like
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Everyone, get your pens and papers out.
I mean, the first thing I do when I wake up, I do drink 2 cups of water. Now, this might sound crazy, but clients call me and say, like, that's mandatory because your body's been detoxing, so you want to rehydrate. People just go right to their coffee or their matcha, and so 2 cups of water can rehydrate you and really change your day, basically. And clients will say, that was the one thing that like helped me so much, just those 2 cups of water. I'm like, you paid me to like tell you that you didn't know how to do that. So I do 2 cups of water. I do take quite a few supplements. So I do take a thyroid supplement. It's from New Zealand. It's called Thyrovance. It has T1, T2, T3, T4. I love that one. I've been doing that for years. I do an adrenal supplement. I do DHEA for hormones, CoQ10. I do a multi. I do a liver and GI detox. I do glutathione. Omega-3s, vitamin D. So I do a lot. And then I also do NAD injections, which has probably been the most incredible thing in the last 2 years that I've done for myself. I feel like that has changed my energy. It's changed my mental focus, and also I think my hair, skin, and nails. Also, I do colostrum powder as well.
Colostrum powder?
Colostrum by Amra, which is all over Instagram and TikTok. And I do think that colostrum is phenomenal.
Now, that's animal-based,
Yes,
though?
Yes, it's from a cow. And I had some eczema and canker sores that were happening consistently. And once I started taking it, my eczema went away and never came back. And I never got another canker sore. And like I've been on it for a year and a half. Lowers antibodies, really protects your gut from getting viral, bacterial, and fungal issues, helps promote cell growth in your gut, helps immunoglobulins in your gut. Talk about resetting your gut. It helps with digestion issues, like all kinds of beautiful things. So I love that. I also take liposomal C. And then I do my juice.
And that's just like the supplement form. And
Right.
then you do your yoga.
Then I do my juice, and then I actually have a cup of coffee because I love coffee.
Do you have so a lot of people love coffee, and I know, speaking about toxins, coffee can be very toxic if you don't get it from a clean source.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite go-to?
Yeah. So it's Life Boost. It's certified organic, and they test their coffee for mycotoxins and mold.
Life Boost.
Life Boost. Yeah.
Okay.
There's always try to go organic as much as you can. Starbucks is pretty shit, sadly. But so it's hard when you go out and want to get your coffee elsewhere. So it really is. It is. If you're drinking a lot of coffee, it really is something you should pay attention to.
It's good to note.
Yeah.
Good to note. What is your everyday non-negotiable?
I would probably say the sleep. Sleep is, I have a bunch. I would say meditation, sleep and meditation.
So you obviously have to prep yourself to go to sleep. I think everyone should. What's your simple way of doing that?
It's interesting because like I told you, I did plant medicine 5 years ago when I had insomnia. And then I also realized that the insomnia was due to a toxic relationship.
Really?
So that's a whole other podcast for us to do.
We should have a second pew about toxic relationships.
Yes, because once the toxic relationship left, I started sleeping again. Just with some magnesium. Yeah. Seriously. And I was taking all kinds of things. So, and I know it's a lot of us have I do blood work on people to see what's going on with their hormones and their cortisol levels, and all of that. But also I feel like magnesium is a non-negotiable before bed, 400 or 500 milligrams. And I think just trying to figure out what your cortisol levels are. Hopefully they're low and, you're able to get to sleep. I mean, not watching TV as much or red lights and phone and all of that, as we know, is important. And a dark room and a cold room is also kind of a no-brainer. And also sleep with a weighted blanket because I love that.
My husband laid on me one night and I'm like, you're like a weighted blanket.
Yeah, I know.
It's so great.
It's so great. It is because it helps when you're feeling that stress and it just kind of relaxes and calms you. So
I love that pressure
And I
therapy.
do actually journal before bed, and actually a functional doctor told me this years ago and I still do it. It's name 3 things you're grateful for today, but I never repeat. So
oh gosh,
that's hard.
life.
I know it is. It's hard. But there's always something in the day that's different,
right?
So there's always some little thing you can find that you're grateful for. So your mind gets into a more, less stressed, more grateful, happier place to help you go to sleep.
It's beautiful. You may have already mentioned it, but what is one easy toxic-free habit that we can all start doing today?
I would say, I just love the juicing, the throwing the greens into a blender. I feel like everybody has a blender, or a bullet.
Yeah.
I just think that is so beautifully detoxifying for us. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Where can everyone find you and follow you?
So I'm on Instagram, of course, Elissa Goodman. And then I have a website that's Elissa Goodman as well. And I have a newsletter that goes out every week with a nutrition tip as well as a recipe. So we do a lot of recipes and a lot of nutrition tips over the years.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I'm going to run down and find some of your cleanses too.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You know what time it is? Time for hot habits. So my hot habit for today is super simple. It's play. Play. I realized as I get older and older and older, I go down this rabbit hole of work and then all the stresses of life that come our way, maybe known, maybe unknown, and we forget to go back to that little us, that innate self of playing, taking time to play. So it's super simple. Remember what you did as a kid. My favorite thing, I love to do art projects. So I've been doodling more. I've been doing my pointillism more. I know it sounds really like grandma-y, but just going back to that innate wisdom, that creativity that you set upon yourself, or also just, guess what? Finding your park, finding your playground, right? For me, I love wake surfing. You probably see it on my Instagram, but this is your healthy reminder to get that hot habit yourself and go back to play. And moving on to trendy trends, I've been seeing this a lot, and so I figured I would go down that rabbit hole and research it. Sea moss gel. Sea moss gel. Sea moss is a source of various vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that may benefit your overall health. However, its nutritional composition can vary. And by consuming it in large amounts, you may also consume high levels of iodine or heavy metals. So you should probably avoid this sea moss in abundance if you have a thyroid disorder and have already a high heavy metal load, or if you're pregnant. Thanks, guys, for tuning in for this episode of Toxic-Free with KB. And remember, you're doing your best, and your best is great. Thanks for watching Toxic-Free with KB. Please subscribe to the show, comment below, and check us out on Instagram at toxicfree.kb and TikTok at toxicfreewithkb. See you next time. This is a Kilo Bravo Media production, brought to you by Rainbow Creative.